Alright guys, so this is my live tutorial on how to do this effect. So as you can see, that was a pretty simple effect. All I really did was just add some particles and such and hit film. So let's open that up, that effect up here. Behind the scenes, live streams are really slow. So we just have this open up here, so you can see what I did actually first was I had to clone myself. So this is just the composite shot where I have the cloning here. It's basically just a mask where there's one layer and then there's the other layer. So in this composite shot here, we should have the full effect. There's a lot of layers here, but first we have a point. This point is set to randomly rotate on all axes. This is done just by going into the controls and keyframing all of the rotations. We also have a plane here and a plane here. These represent the wall and floor. We have a particle simulator, which is the particles coming out. It's a very simple particle simulator. We've added the planes as deflectors. We also have the particle systems, and these are very simple. We have just a few bounce variations and some movement variations. The appearance is set to default. The only reason it looks purpley and stuff is in the effects where we added a diffuse glow along with exposure that added the effect color vibrance. The lightning I will cover in another tutorial, but it's a very simple effect. All you have to do is take the lightning, make it a different color, and then apply it to points. I have already tracked the points on the wands. I think those are these ones. And it was pretty simple to do. This one was actually off, so I just moved the lightning up and it was parented to the point. So this is a pretty simple tutorial, but this is just showing what we did. Now we're going to show exactly how we do it. So let's make a new composite shot. And then first we'll add a new layer, plane, and we will name this one lightning and electricity. So apply the lightning and electricity effect. I won't go in too deep into the lightning, but right now we'll just set the start point to wherever we want, and we're going to turn the twitch scale down and the wave scale down. Now we're going to turn down the branches to 0, and then we're going to duplicate that effect and change this point to over here. We would normally rename these layers red and blue, but I'm simply going to change this one's color. To do this, go into glow and then set the color to whatever you want. I will do red because it's the red one. So now what we want to do is make a new layer, a point, and then make this a 3D plane. Now in the transform, we want to keyframe rotation X, rotation Y, and rotation Z. In the times values, we'll set these to like, how about 20, 25, and 15. Now, as you can see, it rotates around at random. Now if we go back to here, we can position the point. And now we can set the lightning and electricity's end points to declare one new point and then set the offset amount to 0. We'll do this for the other lightning too. Now comes the hard part. This is going to be the particle simulator. Okay, sure. So now we're going to drag that onto the timeline. And in the controls there's a lot, but right now we want to set the emitter to shape attached to layer new point. Now we can see it's rotating out. It's doing okay, but first we'll add a force. This will be set to the default gravity force. Next, we're going to go down into the particle systems. Particle system general. We'll turn up the particles per second. I did 1,000, but we'll just stick with 700 so that it won't get too laggy. Now, we go into movement, and we should turn up the speed. That means that when it rotates up, it will be far easier to actually see. We'll set the life to something like 20 seconds because we don't want them disappearing at random. And now we'll add a new plane, make it black, and we'll put it to the very bottom. And we'll make this a 3D plane. And then we'll rotate it in its on its x-axis 90 degrees, and we'll move it down. Now we can go into the particle simulator and add a deflector. This is basically something that the particles will interact with. You can see it's set to cuboid, set that to layer. Now go into the shape and change the source to new plane 7. Now check infinite plane. Now you can see they're deflecting against the plane, but it looks pretty unrealistic. It almost seems as if they're all being simulated in a computer, which they are. So first we want to turn up the bounce and friction random in movement random. And now we can see it's a bit more hectic. We'll also turn up the speed random, which is down here. Also the scale random. Now you can see we're sort of getting what we're going for. There's actually a lot more. The particles seem pretty big, so we'll make them smaller. That would actually be in the movement tab. And scale, we'll turn them down. I think that about 20% was what I used last time. Yeah, and we already have the size random turned up just a bit, so it will look sort of random. Actually, we'll set this down to 20%. Now we can see it's looking pretty good. So it's looking pretty boring and it's not really attracting attention very much. You can see the shape is set to the new point, but we can barely tell that it's actually rotating. So one thing we could do is turn up the speed here, because if it's not very fast, then it wouldn't be able to go off in its directions. But another good way to do this, which would be way easier, is to just set the cone, and now it only goes in one direction. Now you can see we're doing pretty good. If we do a quick RAM preview here, we can see that it's falling well and it's bouncing pretty well, but the look is off. It doesn't quite look like those glowy particles that you saw in the video. So first we want to add the effect diffuse. This is pretty good on its own, but we want to turn up the radius and turn the opacity up as well. Now you can see this sort of faded out our particles. The exposure effect will correct this if we turn up the exposure, which is what we're going to do. Now what I did is I added the color vibrance effect, and this is a pretty good effect. I believe they copied it from the Video Copilot color vibrance because it's a very good effect. So I'm gonna set it to a purple color. I like to turn up the exposure just a tad to make it look slightly better, and turn up the vibrance as well. This makes it just not as flat, a bit more just better looking. The gamma does something. And that's basically it. We have our effect. What you'd want to do is drag it over the tips of your actors. So it's pretty good, and I think that this is actually better than the one I made originally. When I made originally, the colors were off. So this is the end of the stream, so bye.